Apa saja yang susah akan menjadi mudah sekiranya semua bersatu berusaha dengan produktiviti bertambah keuntungan.
Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera, salam produktif. I'm Fatimah Zaki from Malaysia Productivity Corporation MPC, your host for today. Thank you for joining us in 47 series of MPC Productivity Talk for year 2022. Live every Friday at 3 p.m. Stay tuned.
Malaysia Productivity Corporation drives national productivity. Do you know that the economic development of a country is vital for the well-being of the people? Did you know that productivity growth can spur such economic expansion? The Malaysia Productivity Corporation, MPC, a statutory body under the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, has been mandated to ensure increased country productivity and competitiveness. The Malaysia Productivity Blueprint is the primary guide to the effort. MPC actively works with regulators and industry players to assist in formulating quality public policy. The National Policy on Good Regulatory Practice has been launched to produce excellent and effective policies and regulations. A business-friendly environment will boost the country's economy. Through the My Muda program, MPC strengthens the business ecosystem and reduces the unnecessary regulatory burdens. The transparency of regulatory compliance information is also made available through the My Garis Panduan portal. In addition, the Unified Public Consultation Platform ensures that all stakeholders have the opportunity to provide input on the rulemaking process. MPC leads the implementation of the Agile regulations. The E10 program in Kulim has successfully accelerated the construction of industrial, commercial, and residential buildings. The IUJKT program has accelerated land conversion in Kedah through digitalization. The success of E10 and IUJKT initiatives have encouraged foreign and domestic investors to start businesses and has created thousands of jobs for the people. 11 Productivity Nexus is the country's critical economic subsectors play a role in increasing productivity through industrial solutions. Various industry challenges have been successfully addressed in collaboration with the public and private sectors. Emphasis is also placed on the adoption of technology, research and development, and effective incentives. Talent is an essential factor in economic growth. Through the Academy in Factory program, the workforce is channeled into more productive sectors and increases employee productivity. The innovation of this program allows employees to learn and add skills while working. MPC also recognizes employees who contribute to increased productivity as productivity champions. MPC has developed a National Behavioral Insights program. MPC also develops the competencies of civil servants in applying behavioral insights in formulating policies. A framework for the implementation of the Behavioral Insights Initiative was successfully produced. Since its inception, improving productivity at the firm level has always been a top plan of MPC. As a result, many successes in transforming firms to more competitive levels have been achieved. More significant efforts, the Productive Enterprises Program and the Productivity in Context, are being implemented to benefit all firms in Malaysia. MPC also actively collaborates with various organizations such as the World Bank, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the Asia Productivity Organization, and the Australian Government Productivity Commission internationally. The good practices of developed countries are implemented in Malaysia. MPC drives national productivity for economic growth and the well-being of the people.
MPC is highly committed to increase productivity of our fellow Malaysians in our beloved country, Malaysia.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we have two special guest speakers that will talk about the role of education in farming. Before we start, let me just introduce our guest speakers. Our first speaker, Dr. Oscar Niezen, is a Senior Advisor International Projects and General Representative in Asia for Lentiz Education Group. From 2011 to 2014, he worked in Beijing, China as General Manager of the Asia Office of Priva Group with full P&L responsibility for China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea, Mongolia, and all Asian countries of Southeast Asia. Currently, he plays an important part in the development of modern horticulture in Asia. As governments and investors realize the importance of practical hands-on training and education. For our second speaker, Mr. R.M. Ravichandar is the co-founder and group CEO of Agronomic Biological Systems Strandberghait, a game-changer project for the agriculture industry in Malaysia. Mr. Ravi successfully collaborated with the global leader in IPM, Integrated Pest Management, Corporate Biological System, Netherlands. Together with his team, he successfully completed the efficacy HST test conducted together with the Malaysian Agriculture Research and Development Institute, MARDI. Now, I would like to invite Puan Safura Abdul Malek to start the session. Please welcome.
Thank you, Fatimah. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon. I'm Safura Abdul Malik from Malaysia Productivity Corporation. It is a great pleasure to have our special guest with us here today, Dr. Oscar Niezen, the Senior Advisor International Projects, Lentiz Education Group, and also Mr. R.M. Ravichandar, the Group CEO of ABS Greentech Strandberghait. Ladies and gentlemen, the Malaysia Productivity Blueprint, MPB, defines 5 key strategic thrusts to raise the productivity at national, sectoral, and enterprise level. The 5 thrusts are talent, technology, regulation, industry structure, and productivity mindset. In line with the MPB, in today's episode, we will touch on talent, where we will discuss more on the role of education, especially for farming sector, and how does it affect the sector's productivity. My first question goes to Dr. Oscar. How important it is, in your opinion, and what is your organization roles on this?
Yes, I think education is the key in developing modern farming or the next generation farming all around the world. And what we do, our organization, we do it with a practical focus. So we assist in the creation of a new generation of farmers, growers, 2.0 or 4.0 if you will. And then there's 2 categories. There's the young farmers and students from colleges, mostly, and also universities. And the second is investors who need to train their staff to use modern technology in farming. And all very much taking into account sustainability goals, you know, the SDGs of the United Nations, and notably food security and food safety. And with a special focus in reducing the use of chemicals, pesticides, which put a damage to the health of people, but also to the soil, to the environment. So those are our main priorities in this.
Thank you, Doctor. How about you, Mr. Ravi? How important is education for this sector?
Yes, as you may aware that in any field, education is the key. And example, just to get the attention right, that to become a doctor, you have to go for a lot of studies to become a doctor, to specialize it. To become a lawyer, you must have that knowledge to become a lawyer. You need to be trained. And to become an engineer, you need to be trained to become an engineer. So as farming or agriculture sector, education is the key. And without education, we cannot bring the mindset changes. Education is the core And it is important not alone for just for engineering field or a white collar job, but it is also very, very crucial for farming. Education is important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ravi. Dr. Oscar, as we know, the Netherlands have proved to the world that farming is a sustainable business. What is the secret to this, and how can Malaysia emulate the formula?
Yes, well, it starts, I think, with a long history in the Netherlands. We are a small country. We have a small, limited area for cultivation, for farming, with always a lot of people in this area. So we were more or less forced to cooperate in many ways. It started with water management. That's our main enemy, you can say, in the Netherlands. Keep the water out of the sea and the rivers. And from there, the government also, over the years, realized this and promoted it very much, so that farmers work together. It started with cooperatives, and it resulted in a highly developed education system in agriculture, ranging from colleges to the university level. And then what finally came about is what we call that's triple helix. It's a cooperation between the government, education institutions like us, and private companies who have their own research and development. And they work very closely together, first of all in Holland, but now all over the world, in let's say, improving the level of agriculture. And I think that would be also a good model for Malaysia. And I see this already happening in our cooperation with ABS and with some government institutions. So that is something we would be very happy with to develop it further in Malaysia.
Thank you, Doctor. My next question for Mr. Ravi. What is the role of education towards increasing the productivity in Malaysia's farming industry?
All right. The education's role in farming industry towards productivity. If you look at our strategic partner, Lentiz Education Group from Netherlands, and we did one collaboration signing on 16th of March to look into how this education, especially in farming, it is called Integrated Pest Management, IPM. IPM is a broad knowledge base in farming which has been introduced long ago in this world. It is almost like 113 countries globally using this technology. And Malaysia, I don't know whether to say fortunate or unfortunate. Fortunate is Malaysia did address this IPM in 1970s. Somehow or other, IPM didn't take up strongly in Malaysia due to various reasons. One of the main reasons was we were more into industrialization on semiconductor industry. And we were number one in commodity. By right, commodity is supposed to be part of agriculture. We became number one in palm oil, and the focus was not on crops, vegetables and fruits. Now, moving forward, IPM, as I mentioned, 113 countries using it. They prove the increase of the productivity after use IPM methodology. IPM, Integrated Pest Management with biological control. That means the yield of the farmer increased tremendously if they know how to use the methodology of IPM. Let's say a tomato grower is growing in a traditional way to produce tomato without greenhouse, using a very traditional approach. Let's say it's getting a yield of 7 kg per meter square. But using, by using IPM approach with biological control, with climate control, with the sophisticated greenhouse, and with, of course, very efficient technology and growing media, we have saw the research done where the yield has even increased up to 10 times than the traditional farming. It is very crucial for the growers to learn the technology, to learn the process, as well as learn how to do farming using IPM, biological control, in control environment using efficient, proven technology. This is a key to increase the yield. And it is not just by using IPM, biological control alone. There are also other disciplines, such as they need to read the weather, very, very crucial. They need to know what growing media they're using inside. And also there are a lot of bionutrient to be used to ensure that the plant is healthy. Then you can see the tenfold yield increase, comparing with the traditional farming. So the role of education in increasing the yield and also the revenue of the farmers are crucial. So ABS Greentech, collaborating with the technology leaders to bring this education to Malaysia, especially to tap the younger generation. And one of our strategic partner for education is Lentiz Education Group, with Dr. Oscar being the director for Asia, who are with us today. I believe this knowledge can be shared to the youngsters, and this knowledge is crucial. And I believe more and more people who learn this IPM education will see a significant growth in the productivity.
Thank you, Mr. Ravi. How about you, Dr. Oscar?
Yes, well, I agree to a large extent with what Mr. Ravi just said. It's a main role. It's because you have no successful implementation of new technology or high-tech farming without good education. One doesn't go without the other. So productivity will go up. 10 times is it's a goal, but it depends a bit on the situation, the weather conditions, the climate, but and per crop, of course. But also it reduces the need to bring in, if you look at technology as a whole, to bring in more labor. That can also be a problem. So the less labor needed, you produce more, better quality, with less input, also less chemicals and less labor, and it will be a safe product and sustainable way of producing it. So these are all key elements in this technology change and mindset change.
Next, for Mr. Ravi, in your opinion, how do we engage sustainable farm management in Malaysia?
Sustainable farm management, if you really look at it, it doesn't just focus in terms of one process in the farming. It has to start from education. That is the key. Anyone who wants to go into sustainable farming, they need to be taught the right way of doing farming. Most of the people going into farming without doing the holistic approach. So we believe with the partnership with the international market leaders like Ravichandar. They are the seed breeders. They are number 4 in the world. They are expert in seed. That is one of the most important, crucial part in terms of farming, to choose the right variety of the seed. And then we have climate control, because Malaysia is moving towards National Agro-Food Policy 2.0, which to increase the revenue of the farmers, talent of the farmers, as well as the productivity of the farmers. So in order to achieve NAP 2.0, the very crucial, they need to know how to grow the plants either in open field or inside the control environment. So we have Priva as a market leader in the world to assist in Malaysia. And one of the most critical part for the farmers is to sustaining their farm is pest and disease. Pest and disease is the crucial and critical part if they don't know how to manage it, because the farmer might have a loan from bank to start the farming. But if he doesn't manage the pest and disease, the disease will wipe out the yield of the farmers, so they cannot pay back the money of the loan. So pest and disease, we work with number 1 market leader, corporate biological control. So we have, if you're looking at sustainable farming, it starts from seed, growing, climate control, pests and disease management. Then only we go for harvesting, and then packaging and branding. So how to sustain it? We need to give the training end to end. It is not just one portion of it, but it starts from the seed management, from the growing media, from the pest and disease, and then how to harvest, how to package it, how to brand it, and how to sell it. So the whole supply chain end to end, if we really put them in order, that farm will become sustainable. And very important, many of the farmers who start the farming without knowing the market. The market now is shifting from traditional perception, they can eat anything. Now the younger generation are looking at the content of the packaging, from where the produce come from, Doctor.
Yes.
They want to know whether this farm has any MyGap certificate, good agriculture practice. And people are looking at it, whether it is having any harmful chemical in the vegetables. So the whole market is shifting. So the growers, if they don't change the mindset, I don't think so we can go for export market. So in order for Malaysia to have sustainable farming, we need to master the seed up to market, number one. Number two, Malaysia has all the resources to become an exporter. So if they can export, we have a bright future, because export market, many people love tropical fruits and vegetables, and we will definitely create a successful, sustainable farmers in the near future.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Oscar, how far is Malaysia off from its neighbouring countries in terms of increasing the yield or productivity?
Yes, well, to give a detailed answer, I would definitely need some more data about actual productivity and number of farms, etc. But my general impression, being present in this area, Southeast Asia, a lot and traveling around, also your neighboring countries, I think, in fact, it is not so far. And there is one big step that is now, by initiatives like what we are doing, will increase the position very quickly. Because in neighboring countries, most of them, they're also they're in development, like Indonesia, Vietnam, the Philippines. And there are some large agro-industrial concerns active, for example, in Thailand and in the Philippines in fruits. But that's still, you could say it's large scale, but it still has many negative side effects, especially also in using chemicals and labor conditions, So what we can do with Malaysia is, I would say, take the sustainable road. So to avoid going only in for more production and short-term effects, but make from the beginning, let's say, pesticide-free as much as possible, clean and food-safe products. So there you will have an extra special position in the market, and avoid the mistakes that have been made in other countries.
Thank you. Mr. Ravi, your opinion on this?
As I mentioned earlier, productivity in farming directly related to the farming practices. So Malaysia, even though mentioned about integrated pest management in 1970s, but that IPM or integrated pest management didn't take off on the ground. But the neighboring countries, the nearest we can benchmark is Vietnam. Vietnam is using IPM with biological control 11 years ahead of us. Yeah. And looking at Taiwan or Japan, they are like almost 40 years ahead of us on IPM using biological control. We are not telling don't use chemical. No, that is not the game. The game is if we can avoid chemical, use biological control and increase the yield, why not? And now the chemical prices are shooting up. And the farmers are having issues, especially during the pandemic, COVID. Many of the farmers are having issues, and now the war, Ukraine war, the price of chemicals is shooting up. But Malaysia, with rich biodiversity, we have beneficial insect, which can combat the pest. You don't need to spray the chemical, because the beneficial insect will go and eat the pest. But we need to teach the farmers how to detect the biological control beneficial agent which is already available near their farm. It is again, the key is to teach them the right approach of IPM. But answering your question, many countries in Southeast Asia and Asia already ahead of us in IPM using biological control. And thanks to the government of Malaysia, especially Department of Agriculture and Ministry of Agriculture, they are taking it very seriously. And under the National Agro-Food Policy 2.0, they are going to address this food security and food safety. And IPM is the way forward for our growers. And we will catch it up. And anything Malaysia touch, we will become number one because we have the talent, we have the infra, we just need to make it happen. And thanks to MPC, who are really looking into the productivity part.
Dr. Oscar, what can we change in Malaysia in terms of creating young, energetic and knowledge-centric farmers in Malaysia?
That is, I would say, the model that we are developing together. In our experience, as Lentiz Group, also in many other countries, it is the training that is needed for young farmers is not only about skills, technical skills, that's of course, you could say, the core, but it's also a mindset. So to make them realize how modern agriculture and horticulture is organized, and that it's actually a very nice job, a very nice occupation. It's still, among young people, it still has a bit the reputation agriculture is hard work, and it's often either too hot or too cold, or it's dirty, and you get little, in the end you earn little money. But if they see, either by what we show them or online, and even better if they have the opportunity to visit Holland, they will see how a grower and a farmer, how they work and also how they live, and it is actually a very nice job, and it's more and more becoming a manager's job, using IT, using computer control in very good controlled conditions, and at the same time, of course, they need the green fingers, as we call it, to understand the crop. But so that is a way that farming can become popular again as a job opportunity for young people from a rural background. Yeah.
Can I add on to Dr. Oscar? Mm-hmm. Just to touch on it. When I went to the World Conference on IPM using biological control, this is what captured our mind in Malaysia. So there was a session where the King of Netherlands was witnessing. There are 1,280 growers throughout the world gathered at Amsterdam for a conference on using biological control. So in that particular presentation, the presenter was presenting to the King of Netherlands. What captured my mind was 25% of millionaires in Netherlands are farmers. So that really captured. Netherlands is such a small country. Yeah. Mm-hmm. In Malaysia, we call it like a state of Pahang. Size of Pahang can become a world exporter for tomato. Yeah. And Malaysia has fertile land, big space, and that's actually captured our ABS Greentech's attention when we were in Netherlands to come and work with department, with market leaders like Lentiz and also all the corporate, Ravichandar, Priva, how we can do one model farm in lowland to show the seed to market, increase the yield, and especially for the youngsters. The youngsters will love it because we are showing them the entire cycle of from the end of seed up to the market. They want to see it. So we have taken the bold move by putting private investment in Selangor, in Kelompang, and construction is going on. This will be the first IPM lowland farm to show the youngsters how to do IPM farming using biological control inside control environment with a very, of course they ask, is the cost is very high? No, the cost is manageable, but the yield is higher. So important is for youngsters to bring them over and also to look into knowledge-centric. I believe, as what Doctor said, the farming has to be sexy for the youngsters. So I believe Malaysia is already towards it. The only thing we need is to show something, it is tangible and it works. And I believe more and more people will come into the farming. And the end goal is create a food supply chain which is safe to eat and with affordable price. And I believe with the Netherlands, such a small country can become world exporter. There are many people love tropical fruits and vegetables. If we can produce it safely, I believe Malaysia will be on map again to export, to become a net exporter.
Okay, my last question for Mr. Ravi. Could you tell us how ABS Greentech and Lentiz Education Group are working together in Malaysia?
Yes, thank you. As I mentioned, our key focus is to bring back agriculture as a very lucrative industry. Of course, government is supporting the initiative. So with Lentiz Education Group, what we have done so far is we have a series of discussion and meeting, and our former Minister of Agriculture visited Netherlands on April 2022, and we had series of discussion with market leaders in Netherlands, with Ravichandar, with Corporate Biological Control, with Priva, and with Lentiz, to bring this education to Malaysia. So we have developed a customized module for local farmers. And thanks to the Selangor Department of Agriculture, they have taken up the lead to train their extension officers. And the extension officers has been trained with the module which has been verified by Lentiz Education Group. And the module, after we tested for two groups of separate groups, one is the extension officer and one is the growers. So we used the knowledge which we received from Netherlands, we customize it for Malaysia context. And how we are working together is Lentiz is assisting us in terms of syllabus creation, curriculum creation, knowledge sharing from the industrial experts in Netherlands, and ABS Greentech in Malaysia. We are tapping the years of experience which Netherlands has, but customizing it for Malaysia context. Because Malaysia has their own strength, and we need to customize it for Malaysians' context. And to be very honest to you, after the training session over, by using these modules, the rating of the farmers, the belief system of the farmers in terms of changing the traditional farming into IPM farming, I'm just giving you a statistic, a data. Out of 12 growers who participated, all the 12 wants to change. Earlier, they have the mindset, it's difficult. But after the training, they said they want to change. Same goes to the extension officers of Selangor Department of Agriculture. They said earlier they thought IPM is tough to be taught to the growers. But now they said, yes, with systematic approach, with Lentiz Education Group's involvement, and with customization of the module, wow, the impact is greater. And coming year, with the support of Department of Agriculture, I believe more extension officers and growers will be trained. Our target is by 2030 to train 500 agropreneurs, including the extension officer, for Malaysia to gear up to become a net exporter of tropical fruits and vegetables. That's how we work with Lentiz.
Thank you, Mr. Ravi, for your sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come towards the end of today's talk. Thank you, Mr. Ravi, and also Dr. Oscar, for your time today. So much new knowledge was gained today. We hope that it can benefit others as well. Once again, thank you very much. See you again in another series of MPC Productivity Talk. Stay safe, stay positive, and stay productive.